He white-knuckled the steering wheel for 10 hours through a Michigan snowstorm with arthritis screaming in his hands. In the back seat, carefully wrapped scarves for his daughter. An art book for her husband. Each gift chosen with care, each mile driven with love. Christmas was always his thing. Family, tradition, togetherness, even after the divorce. Even when the thank yous faded. He just wanted to see her smile. But as he stepped onto the porch boots crunching in the snow, he heard it. I hope he doesn't make it. Her voice, his daughter. Laughing inside, warm, safe, mocking. I know, she giggled. But think about it, just one Christmas without him hovering. Without the guilt trips, without the sugar cookies, without the ATM in the living room. They laughed harder. He didn't knock. He turned. Walked back through the snow. Left behind the porch the gifts, the daughter who hoped he'd never arrive. But that was just the beginning. Because what came next wasn't rage. It was clarity. And from clarity came a plan. If you've ever given everything and heard them wish you'd never shown up, subscribe, because this isn't just revenge, it's justice. Ernest Green was 63. He didn't look it. Not because he was youthful, but because life had etched too much into him to leave space for age. He lived alone in a 2-story house in Traverse City. Oak floors, leather armchair, stacks of business journals he hadn't read in years. He once owned a company, Green Industries. 20 years building it from nothing. Logistics, warehousing, hard work. Then one day he sold it. Pushed every cent into one thing, his daughter's future. Ashley, she was 19 then. Fresh out of college. Big dreams. Small skills. He wanted to be the net beneath her so she'd never know what it was like to fall. After the divorce, Ernest never dated again. Didn't see the point. His life had narrowed into a single line of purpose: provide. Protect, be present. Every birthday, every broken pipe, every overdue bill. He paid for Ashley's wedding, then her mortgage, then her husband's art supplies. He never asked for anything in return. Not even a thank you, just a seat at her table every Christmas. A few hours of warmth. The illusion of being needed. People called him old-fashioned. He called it love. And on that snowy December night when he drove 10 hours through the storm, he still believed that love would be enough. He was wrong. Ashley Green Wilson lived in Detroit. She was 34, married, worked at a salon that specialized in express transformations, which mostly meant coloring roots and pretending to care about clients' divorces. Her husband, Howard, was a painter. Not the kind who painted houses. The kind who sold emotion on stretched canvas and owed the IRS more than he made last year. They lived in a cozy colonial on Maple Street. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. One invisible ATM, her father. They weren't cruel. Not in the way villains are in movies. They just forgot. Forgot that someone had sacrificed for their comfort. Forgot that every grocery run, every new paintbrush set, every Amazon Prime order was funded by someone else's past. Ernest had paid their down payment. Helped cover Howard's art booths. Sent money monthly just in case. They'd come to expect it. Like a light switch, you flip it and the power flows. Until it doesn't. At dinner parties, Ashley called him my sweet old man. Smiled for Facebook photos with him, but behind closed doors, she rolled her eyes when he called, groaned at his long voicemails, mocked his guilt trips about family. Howard wasn't better. He joked that Ernest was their safety net with a pension. He laughed when Ashley said she wished her dad wouldn't show up for Christmas. They weren't monsters, they were comfortable. Too comfortable to notice they were sitting on a foundation that could crack. And that winter, it finally did. It started at 5 a.m. Snow had already covered the driveway. Ernest shoveled in silence, breath fogging in the cold. Each scoop of snow sent pain shooting through his knees, but he didn't stop, because it was Christmas Eve, and he was going to see Ashley. The car heater took forever to kick in. The windshield wipers groaned, but Ernest smiled. He'd packed the gifts the night before, scarves, in her favorite colors, a limited edition art book for Howard. He even wrapped them himself. The drive from Traverse City to Detroit usually took 4 hours. That day, it took 10. The roads were slick, visibility near zero. His knuckles turned white on the steering wheel, his fingers stiff with arthritis. But he never considered turning back. He kept thinking about Ashley's smile when she opened her gift, about the way her voice used to light up when she called him Daddy. Maybe this year she'd make his sugar cookies her desktop background again. Maybe she'd hug him a little longer. Maybe she'd mean it. He imagined arriving at the door, Ashley opening it in fuzzy socks, Howard waving awkwardly from the couch, Christmas music playing in the background. He imagined the kind of moment that made all the pain worth it. Instead, he got something else entirely. He got words he was never meant to hear. Ernest pulled up to the curb, snow crunching under tires. His headlights lit the porch. It looked exactly how he remembered, twinkling red and gold lights. The same ones he helped hang 3 years ago when Howard threw out his back again. He grabbed the gift bags from the back seat, took a deep breath, and stepped into the cold. The porch light flickered on. He reached for the doorbell, but froze. Voices. From inside, muffled, then clearer. Ashley's voice, laughing. "I honestly hope he doesn't make it." The sentence cut through the air like a blade made of ice. Then Howard's voice. "Come on, that's your dad." She laughed again. Exactly. Maybe one Christmas without the guilt trips, without the hovering, without the sugar cookies. Howard chuckled. The man does love reminding us he sold his business, like we asked him to. Ernest stood motionless, the snow falling gently on his coat, his boots sinking into the powder. Inside, they kept laughing. He looked down at the gift bags in his hand. They suddenly felt ridiculous, heavy, hollow. His fingers, numb from cold, let go of the doorbell. He stepped backward, quietly, carefully. 30 feet away, his car waited. So did the silence. And for the first time in his life, Ernest didn't knock. He didn't remember the drive home. Just snow and silence. The gift bags lay on the passenger seat, mocking him with every turn. Scarves she'd never wear, books he'd never open. When Ernest walked into his house, he didn't turn on the lights. He sat in the dark, coat still on, hands still frozen. His phone buzzed. "Ashley, drive safe if you're coming, Dad. Weather looks rough." She sent it while laughing, while hoping he wouldn't make it. The hypocrisy was surgical, so clean it almost impressed him. He walked into his study, turned on the lamp, opened his filing cabinet. Bank statements, insurance policies, trust documents. Ashley Green Wilson, beneficiary of it all. He started adding. College, $20 0, 0 0. Wedding, $40 000. House down payment, $75 000. Howard supplies, $2 500 month x 36 months. The number kept growing, $280 000. And for what? To be an ATM with arthritis. To be laughed at over sugar cookies. Ernest leaned back in his chair. The cold was gone, replaced by something sharper. Clarity. 15 years of love packaged as transactions. They never wanted a father, just a funder. He looked at the document on his desk. His will. Then picked up the phone. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he planned. By morning, Ernest knew exactly what needed to be done. At 8:05 a.m., he called Richard Morrison, his estate attorney for the last 12 years. "Richard," he said calmly, "I want to update my will today." Silence on the other end. "Then everything all right?" Ernest smiled. "Never better." By 10 a.m., he was in Richard's office. Same oak-paneled walls, same framed degrees. But this time, Ernest wasn't here to secure someone else's future. He was here to take it back. He laid out folders on the desk: bank transfers, life insurance, property deeds, all in Ashley's name. For now. "I want to change the primary beneficiary," he said, "to the Great Lakes Animal Welfare Foundation." Richard blinked. "That's quite a shift." Ernest nodded. "They wag their tails when they see me. That's more than I can say for my family." They spent an hour redoing everything. Page after page, signature after signature. When it was done, Ernest leaned back. No more monthly transfers, no more emergency deposits, no more guilt-ridden gifts. He walked out of that office not as a father, but as a man who had finally cut the cord. Not with hate, not with anger, with precision. The first missed payment came on the 10th. Ashley thought it was a glitch, a bank error, something technical. But when she called First National, the woman on the phone was polite, firm. "The account's been closed, ma'am," by the primary holder. Ashley froze. "What?" She called Ernest, straight to voicemail. She called again and again. By evening, she'd left 4 messages. "Dad, the bank says something's wrong. Can you call me? Howard's getting worried. We've got bills coming. I don't understand. Why was the account closed?" Each voicemail sounded more frantic than the last. Howard's voice started showing up in the background. "This is insane, Ash. He's cutting us off." By Saturday, the groceries bounced. The credit card declined at checkout. Howard's art supply order was canceled. Ashley called again. "Dad, please, something's happening. Everything's unraveling." Still no response. Sunday morning brought a letter from the mortgage company, requesting updated financial documentation. Ashley read it 3 times, then burst into tears. By Monday, Howard wasn't angry anymore. He was afraid. "He's doing this on purpose," he muttered. "Someone's targeting us." Ashley shook her head. "He wouldn't." But she didn't finish the sentence, because suddenly she wasn't so sure. Tuesday morning, Ashley lost 2 clients. They didn't cancel outright, just stopped booking. By Thursday, it was 5. At the salon, people whispered. Sarah, her coworker, asked if she was okay. Just, "You seem distracted lately." Ashley forced a smile, but her stomach turned. That night someone posted in the neighborhood Facebook group, lots of official mail piling up at the Wilson house. Hope they're not having trouble. By Friday, the neighbors stopped waving. Mrs. Henderson, who once shared holiday pies, walked straight inside when Ashley approached. Even the mailman avoided eye contact. Howard laughed at first. People love drama. But by Sunday, he wasn't laughing anymore. The market organizer called. Said they were reevaluating vendor spaces. Said some buyers had concerns. Ashley called Ernest again and again. Nothing. She left a message through tears. "Dad, I don't know what's happening. Everyone's pulling away. I feel like we're being erased." But the erasing wasn't random. It was deliberate, precise, and it had only just begun. Ashley's manager pulled her aside. "Clients are complaining. They say your energy is off. They're going elsewhere." By Thursday, she was fired. Official reason: client retention. But everyone knew the truth. Whispers had become reality, her reputation stained. Howard lost his spot at the market. Vendors reorganizing, buyers uncomfortable. Their credit cards stopped working. The rent bounced, The car got flagged for repossession. Ashley tried to apply for a new apartment. Denied. Again and again. Too high risk, they said. Even with a co-signer, no one would co-sign, because no one wanted to be near them. She called Ernest one more time. Her voice was a whisper. "Dad, we're drowning." No reply. Howard packed a bag on Sunday night. No explanation. Just mumbled something about Cleveland and slammed the door. Ashley stood alone in their dark, empty kitchen. Unemployed, uninsured, unwelcome. The house smelled like dust and desperation. For the first time in her life, she had no one to call. No hand to reach for. Just silence. And her own echo. I hope he doesn't make it. Now she wished he had. Because maybe then, he wouldn't be the one watching her fall. Saturday. Ashley stood on his porch, shivering, holding a small gift bag from a drugstore. She rang the bell once, twice, waited. The door opened. Ernest stood there, calm, composed. Her voice cracked. "Dad." Behind her, Howard kept his distance. Shoulders hunched, eyes darting. We brought something," Ashley offered, lifting the bag. He didn't even look at it. "I don't need anything," he said, flat. She tried again. "We just want to talk. Things have been hard. We didn't mean—" He cut her off. "Didn't mean to what?" She looked down. Howard stepped in angry. "You've made your point. We get it. You're mad. But this has gone too far." Ernest stared at him. Then at Ashley. "You're right," he said. Ashley's face lit up. "It does count for something." Her eyes watered. Then he finished. "It counts for exactly what it meant to you on Christmas Eve." He stepped back and closed the door. Behind it, silence. Outside, Ashley stood frozen, not from the cold. From the sudden realization he'd heard everything. Ashley came back the next morning. Alone. Eyes swollen. Same coat as yesterday. She looked 10 years older. "I need to talk," she said softly. Ernest stepped aside. No words, just a gesture. She sat on the couch right where she used to unwrap presents. "I know we messed up," she whispered. "I know I said horrible things. But it wasn't real. I didn't mean it." Ernest didn't speak. He placed his phone on the coffee table, opened a file, pressed play. Ashley's voice filled the room. "I honestly hope he doesn't make it." Her face went white. Then came Howard's laugh. "Come on, that's your dad." Ashley's voice again. One Christmas without him hovering, without his guilt trips, without the cookies. The room was silent except for the recorded laughter. Ernest paused the file. Ashley's eyes were full of tears. "You were there," she whispered. "I was. You heard all of it. Every word." She covered her face. "I'm sorry. I was stupid. I didn't mean it." Ernest leaned back in his chair. "No, you meant it. And that's why it mattered." She sobbed, but he stayed quiet, because silence in that moment was louder than anything he could have said. Ashley sat frozen, her breath shallow. The recording still echoed in her head. She looked at Ernest. "What happened to us? After Christmas?" "It wasn't bad luck, was it?" He didn't answer. Her voice cracked. "It was you." Still nothing. Her mind raced. The closed bank accounts, the vanished transfers, the IRS letter to Howard, the clients who stopped calling, the neighbors turning away. Every piece clicked into place. You did all of it," she whispered. Finally, Ernest spoke. "Actions have consequences. You just never expected to meet yours." Ashley's eyes widened. "All those years you never fought back. I was giving you the chance to stand on your own," he said quietly. "You never took it." Her voice shook. "So you took everything." "I took nothing that wasn't already mine," he replied. "Money, security, reputation, those were gifts. And gifts can be taken back." She stared at him, horrified. You've been watching me fall on purpose. Not watching, Ernest corrected, ensuring. Ashley felt the air leave her lungs. The truth wasn't just that he'd heard her words. The truth was that from that moment on, every step she took was on a floor he had already pulled away. Ashley's tears came fast now. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet ones. The ones that mean the truth has settled in. Dad, I can change. I've learned my lesson. Ernest's gaze didn't soften. I'm glad you learned, he said. That was the point. Her shoulders lifted, hopeful. Then, we can start over. He shook his head. Learning the lesson doesn't erase the damage. It just means you won't make the same mistake again. Ashley swallowed hard. But we're family. Family, Ernest said slowly, is built on trust. You burn that on Christmas Eve. She looked down, her voice a whisper. So, what now? Now, he leaned back in his chair. Now, you live with what you've earned. Independence, self-reliance, and the memory of what you lost. Ashley closed her eyes. A single sob escaped. I just wanted you to forgive me. Ernest walked to the door and opened it. Forgiveness is free, he said, but it's not mine to give any more. She stepped outside the winter air, biting her cheeks. The door closed behind her. Solid. Final. Inside, Ernest exhaled slowly. Not in relief, but in certainty. The lesson was over. And that was enough. 6 months passed. Winter had turned to spring, then summer. The world moved on. One Tuesday morning, a letter arrived. The handwriting was familiar. Ashley's. But different, steadier, more deliberate. Ernest sat at his kitchen table, coffee steaming. He opened the envelope. Dad, I don't expect you to reply. I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I've changed. She wrote about her job at a small grocery store. 40 hours a week. On her feet all day. Dealing with customers, cleaning spills. Honest work, she called it. She paid her own rent now. A 1-bedroom apartment. Old, but hers. Howard never came back. And she was glad. I needed to learn who I am without leaning on anyone. She admitted knowing about the will. How she'd tried to contest it last spring. How her lawyer told her it had been changed in January before anything else happened. You were teaching me to stand even when I thought I had a safety net. I'm not the same woman who laughed on Christmas Eve. That person feels like a stranger. Ernest read it twice, then folded it carefully, placed it in his desk drawer. He felt no urge to respond. The lesson had been taught. It had been learned. That was enough. The shelter smelled faintly of cedar shavings and clean straw. Ernest walked past rows of kennels greeting each familiar face. But Charlie, a graying German shepherd mix, was already waiting at the gate, tail wagging, eyes bright. He'd been there 6 months, too old for most families, too scarred to be cute anymore. But to Ernest he was perfect. He knelt, letting the dog press his head into his chest. No judgment, no calculation, just trust. 2 weeks earlier he'd signed the adoption papers. Now Charlie followed him everywhere. From the kitchen to the porch. From the porch to the old leather armchair where Ernest read in the evenings. Sometimes when the house was quiet, Ernest thought about Ashley's letter. Not with anger, not even with longing, just acknowledgement. Some relationships end, others begin. Charlie didn't care about Ernest's bank account. He didn't measure love in deposits or gifts. He asked for nothing but presence. One evening, Ernest turned on the porch light. The same one he'd stood under that snowy night. But this time he wasn't waiting for anyone. Inside, Charlie curled up at his feet. Safe, content. Ernest looked out into the dark street. No expectations, no disappointments. Justice wasn't always loud. Sometimes It was just a quiet house and the sound of a dog's steady breathing.